Welcome, everyone, to the Jordan and Christian Show. I'm Jordan Kofsky alongside my co-host.
Hello.
That's Christian Butzek. He's saying hi. And today we are diving into a topic that is on the minds of just about everyone in Vancouver. Well, the Vancouver real estate market. What is actually happening in the housing market? Depending on who you talk to, you'll hear very different stories. Some people think we're at the bottom. Others think prices still have further to fall. Some sellers are still expecting 2021 prices, while buyers are walking into negotiations with conditions, leverage, and a lot more patience than we have seen in years. What's interesting is that there are buyers out there, that there are showings, there are open houses, properties are selling, but the market feels very different than it did 2 or really 3 years ago. And understanding those changes is becoming increasingly important, whether you're buying, selling, investing, or simply trying to figure out what's next. So today, we wanted to bring in someone who's right in the middle of it every single day. Joining us is James Wang from Remax. James is one of the top producing realtors in Greater Vancouver and is currently carrying a significant number of active listings across multiple property types, giving him a unique perspective on what buyers and sellers are actually doing in today's market, not just what the headlines say they're doing. We're going to be talking about seller expectations, buyer behavior, property types, and what people are struggling the most with, where opportunities might exist, and of course, everyone's favorite question, where is this market heading over the next 12 to 18 months? So with that, James, let's dive in, shall we? Welcome. Say hello, please.
Hello, everyone. This is James from Remax here.
Hello,
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jordan and Christian. Thanks for having me.
For sure. Thank you. So let's start things off. Christian, you want to say the first question?
Yeah, I mean, I think, James and I were having a conversation over the phone. It was, I guess, about a week and a half ago. And like all our conversations, you intend for it to be a 2 or 3 minute conversation. And then boom, there we are 27 minutes later, sharing stories about what we see going on the front lines of the real estate market. And James has got such an interesting perspective because he works his ass off. He's carrying a lot of listings. I think you were carrying 12 listings when we last spoke, right?
Wow.
Well, I would say I couldn't keep track. Sometimes I got commercials. I got I got a warehouse for sale, single house, single detached, condos.
So you're so busy.
You're busy.
You're so
all
busy
over.
You can't keep track of your own.
All over. Yes.
Wow.
Well, look, let me ask you, James. I mean, look, what the negotiations look like right now in the market these days. And the reason I'm asking you is because a lot of buyers that I'm working with, they're going in with real lowballs or making insane demands. I'll give you an example. I did an inspection on a condo in New West where after the inspection, and admittedly, the sellers had screwed things up. They'd done an illegal renovation to the home.
Really?
They put
Crazy.
a bathroom into the attic, which is actually common property. This is a unique setup. It's a strata on quayside. And so they built in a bathroom, obviously without permits. And so there was a work order from the city of New Westminster slapped right on the front glass door for the whole strata.
Whoa.
Anyway, so we took advantage of that. And after the inspection, my buyer said, look, it's too much. We're going to walk away unless we get $80,000. That's 4 zeros, $80,000 off. And they took it. We got $80,000 after doing the inspection. And James is busy as well. And I'm just wondering what you see the negotiations looking like on your end, James.
Great. Yeah. So basically, for example, when I had the listings, one of the stories I would like to mention is like when I had a townhouse listing on the west side, was about sold somewhere this March. We've been on the market forever. Like the market was, it was sluggish. We had no offers since last August. We've been doing price adjustments, relisting it, playing around, like with the photos, such. And then we had no traction until March. We saw one party wrote us an offer that's, that was somehow the seller quoted as humiliating, insulting. Offer came in at low 1.5s. I do remember, but again, we were priced at somewhere around close to 1.7, 1.7 mil. Yeah, and then
that sounds like a good offer.
Well, it sounded like a good offer, but again, the seller basically what happens is, ironically, literally 1 month ago, a neighbor on the same side, they literally just sold for, I think, 1.6. And an offer came in for a low, I think it was high 1.4s. It came high 1.4s.
Okay.
And then the seller was like, wow, like we couldn't take it. This market's this bad. I said, well, look, any offers right now, it need to be taken really serious, just taken really seriously. And I consulted with the agent, and you know what the agent said? The agent said, look, if you're not going to take it, we're going to bring it somewhere else.
Yes.
So it's like one offer upfront, consider lowball, not in today's standard, but again, one offer, and then if you somehow dare to, counter, or basically you're having a second thought, like they're just going away. And so that's one thing I found in March. And also I have numerous times this year, where a seller, where we receive an offer from a buyer, and the seller counter it, but later on having to, after like an hour or two, the seller voluntarily rescinded the counter offer. Just said, "Hey, James, let's just accept whatever that's been
Really?
offered." Yes,
So
that's
how does that work?
never
So
heard of.
the seller counters the buyer's offer. For example, buyer puts in an offer for 1.4, seller counters at 1.45, and then rescinded the offer. Why?
Yeah, so basically, the seller, I would say the sellers of March is going to be very different. The mentality of the psychology of the sellers back in March is very different from the sellers in May, where sellers in May, they would have realized that the market's really in the buyer's market. Everybody's is coming to, like, it's fact now. So it's buyer's market, and the seller would less, so they have been, I would say, they have been educated in a way that, they know that the market's there, and then if they're there to sell the property, they will say, hey, let's just tentatively counter something. But again, they kind of sort of like regretted themselves right after the counter. And then, but
Really?
again, yeah, they sort of regretted themselves of countering. And the buyer, sometimes they just said, well, let's just take it as is. Just after one phone call with the buyer's agent, like the buyer's agent would usually say, well, it is what it is. That's what we're offering. So, you're going to take it, or you're going to be someone else. Yeah. And the one thing I really tell the sellers is that, look, Mr. Seller, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, whoever's offering your property these days, these guys are generally looking. We got a lot of people who are just speculators. They're just, sitting on the fence. It could be, just going on open houses on a very, like, a weekend hobby. But again, for those people who are here with a buyer's agent, they are offering on your property. So, we got to take it seriously. And then for these people, look at the inventory. The market is selling, like the rate of the things getting sold is not even catching up with the things getting listed. So
Yes.
So any people who's going to offering, if they make sense, and then your optimal goal is to sell the property. It's like that's something you need to move on. It's eventually, I think, even for the task of the sellers, a task of the agents, we're just moving on. We're just moving on.
I think you're right, James, because I know I just recently signed up a listing where, I sat down with him and I went over the numbers. I said, look, there's 6 other 1 bedrooms in the building available.
Yeah.
You're going to be number 7. There's 140 condos in New West, and 10 of them sold in the month of May. I mean,
Yeah.
you're basically,
wow, 10 and 1. Wow.
yeah. Now these are a 1 bed, 2 bed, 3 bed, and
Sure.
it's everything in that data set.
Sure.
But you got a 10 out of 140 chance of selling.
Yeah.
So you better come on the market real sharp. There's a colleague of mine here in the office. He says you basically have to drop your pants right now.
That's a good way to look at it.
Right? I mean,
Yeah.
now that's for condos, especially for 1 bedrooms, which are so tough to sell. Jordan, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, so like it's an interesting topic because, as we just talked about how, in this case, you had a seller that really looked at the harsh reality of today's market and went, okay, it's a buyer's market. We got to play ball here. But that's got to go the other way around too, because of course, sellers are so, of course, emotionally connected to their own homes and everything like that. So is it possible? Can you give a few examples of sellers, without naming names, of course, of owners who thought their homes were worth one number way higher only to discover, as I mentioned, the harsh reality of today's market. Like, do you still seeing that a little bit these days too?
Well, like I just said, I mean, the sellers of last year, they would usually have a number in mind. They will have a number like they've seen the good old days. They've seen it good like the times. I mean, they're actually what I would I'm very actually I understand fully, and I fully respect that sellers have their own price, because sellers, they own they've been there forever. We as listing agent, we go to the home, we look at the market, we look at the numbers. But again, these sellers, they know the neighbor, they know the street, so they probably know that property a lot better than we do.
Really?
So yeah, and I that's why it's always on the back of my head. I told them that seller have seen so many, they live and breathe in this property. So they know all the ups and downs. They probably know the neighbor's condition, the neighbor's scenario, like situation, a lot better than we do. Like picking up off the like just off the MOS figures and just in the streets. But again, the sellers, they're seeing. Of course, they will have the numbers in mind, especially if they're listing some properties in last year. But I would say, they're like, I would say so far, all the sellers that are listing, especially this year, they would come to realize that, hey, like we had a number, but if they're deciding to list again this year or having property on the market, it's like they would have known that, that it's a reality now. They're not gonna. It's this thing is a pastime. What belonged in 2021 was stay in 2021.
For sure. James, what's that like though? I mean, we were talking about that over the phone about a week and a half ago, where you've got a listing. It's on, I think it's in Vancouver, on West Vancouver.
Yeah.
And it's a high price listing. I don't recall the exact number, but I think it was up there like $5, $6, $7 million.
Wow, they listed last it's in West Vancouver in Ambleside area, and they listed last August for 6.2 mil.
Wow.
If I remember the correct number correctly, 6.2 or 6.4. So 6.2 mil. They listed last August, and then according to the listing agent, they had offers in the high fives. They had offer in the mid fives, and then through the time, because the property is it's a gigantic house. It's a huge lot, nice views, overlooking the ocean. But again, yeah. But this year, it ended up selling to my clients actually for 4.2, and
whoa,
they sold it. They sold to my client for 4.2, and the fact that
was this worth? How would this have been worth at the peak of the market in 2022?
Well, in 2022, I would say, just straight facts, a house like this will easily probably sell for, easily sell for, I would say in a low six, because West Vancouver, I would say the peak market, it's probably somewhere in 2016s or 18s. It's a very different market than the rest of, like the West Side and West Vancouver. They had a really top market back in about 10 years ago. But even in 2022, a home like this would easily sell for, I would say, in a low six or even higher fives. But the reality is, this property got offers, even not talking about 3-4 years ago in the golden times. That property got offers at mid high fives even last October, but they didn't take it.
Wow.
And they had to take it this.
That's brutal. Yeah. So these guys end up selling it for more than $1 million less than the offers.
Than the offers from last October. Yes, exactly. So
how do you live with yourself knowing that you probably got $1 million on the table?
Yeah, it's as if you're just throwing money. You're just burning money in the jacuzzi, which they have.
I need to hang out with these people. They're literally burning monies in jacuzzis. Can you make this connection, James?
Yeah,
what is that like? Like when you talk, I haven't had a listing that was a $6 million listing in the last 6-12 months. When you're talking to a seller where they could have sold their home in the peak at, let's say $3 or $4 million, and now it's $500,000 less, maybe more. Mm-hmm. What is the conversation like that? I mean, do you have to reach over the table and give them a hug or something?
Well, that's a good question. I would say shed no tears, like daddy's here. No, just kidding. No. What I would say, usually one of the conversation I will have the seller actually is very, I mean, it's purely numbers. So I was a numbers person, my background, I'm great with numbers.
Well, you used to be an
So,
engineer, right?
yes, I used to be a mechanical engineer. So I'm
Oh,
great
wow.
with numbers. So what I usually tell them is that, well, look, it's so I fully respect the decision. You're taking a loss, it is what it is. It is the market, So I think I just ask them I will just invite them to revisit their initial goal of why they're selling the property. If they're thinking of upsizing, if you're buying something else, it's better that if you're upsizing, it's easier conversation because then you can get your hands on another, for example, townhouse. You sell a townhouse, you get your hands on a better discount on a detached
Yes.
if you're moving up with your investment. And on the other hand, I'll simply tell them. So with a lot of those high profile clients, I'll just simply give them conversations and look, with given this roller coaster we have experienced, are you 100% sure that are you 100% sure you are going to park your money with the properties? Or if you had a chance, if you had just one chance, it might be just, this might be the only chance because sometimes the offer comes and the offer will be gone in about 48 hours. As I said, if you had a chance, would you consider option of, parking your money somewhere else other than real estate, having a chance just relief from this real estate stuff? So
James,
I'll get them to think.
that's a great point. So I was wondering about that too. And I'm always experimenting with different questions. And so one of the questions, so when I have a listing that's, let's say, two and a half, $3 million, and if it's an investment property and they don't need it anymore, one of the things that the objections that gets thrown our way is, well, why don't I wait 1 or 2 years and maybe the market will come back? Maybe, we don't know. It may not come back. Maybe it sputters along where it is right now until the economy really recovers. But I guess my thought on that is, I always ask, like, look, if you were to sell this house right now and you put it in the S&P and into an S&P Index 500 fund, I mean,
Yeah.
you might be making 10, 20% a year here the last, 15 years. So you take $2 million home, for example, you take the proceeds minus fees and legal fees and et cetera. It's still going to end up more than 1.9. But you take that and you put that into, 10% on the S&P index, and you're making almost $200,000 a year. Is the real estate market going to make that kind of money for you? I find that that's one that kind of opens the gates there in the minds for a lot of people. Is there questions that you can ask? Do you find that really help sellers maybe consider, oh, maybe I should just get this thing sold, even if I'm taking a loss?
Well, so I would like to elaborate a tiny, I mean, just a little bit
Sure.
on
Please.
the conversation that you just had. I mean, I usually give them numbers. For example, I said, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, look, I know the good old days, your property would have easily sold for, let's say, 1.3, but right now we're getting a 1.15 offer, like 1.15. So I would say I respect I respect your opinion of, maybe if you waited another year or even 2 years, that probably you end up to selling, so getting a better number for the deal. But what I do is I said, look, in order for us to like, let's say you sell it this year, you take away all the proceeds, everything, then you net probably like 1 mil, like a little bit 1.1. That's what you're netting. But again, in order, so that's what you have right now. Versus in a 1 or 2 years time, if you put in all the property taxes, the mortgage interest payments, that kind of stuff, you add in the number, you probably had to sell for at least 1.2, 1.23 or 1.22 in order to have the same return. So versus, yes, like, S&P 500 or whatever, the stock options that you have out there. So
Sure.
and then I always talk to them about the risk, because sometimes for homeowners, if they're really, like, for homeowners, it's a little bit tougher because obviously they have their plans, and then if they're really, unless they're really having the triple D situation, diaper, death, or divorce situation, I mean, they'll be less willing to, probably, less willing to, to move on. But again, for those especially for this client who are having investment properties, I would, because I always factor in that, the rental market's also on the downhill. So what are the odds of you right now getting a tenant, probably getting a tenant who's going to pay you 20% less rent than 2023, and having the risk of running into troubles and then the person, damaging your property. And that's one thing to think of. I think for us, I think our role as an agent, we're advisors. We advise them of not only on monetary issues like how much it's sold for, but also remind them of the risks. I think it's one conversation I would bring to me. It's a risk that what are we trying to achieve here? In order to achieve, hopefully, it's a gamble game. Hopefully, the market is doing well, so at least you sell for 1.22 in 2 years' time, so that you are looking back, you would have you're happy you held on to the property. But what are the risks involved if you're renting it this whole time? You may be getting someone to pay your mortgage interest, but again, what if the tenant, just a lot of what ifs, and then I can assure that with this downhill of the rental market, there's a lot of there's a lot of bad guys out there who might end up trashing the property or ending up depreciating your property down the road. That's the risk. Are you able to take that risk? Yeah,
Certainly, that's a very real risk. I mean, I have colleagues that are like real estate agents as well as property managers,
yeah,
and they've said like they've seen some crazy stuff over the years. Of course, with clients doing like crazy stuff, like like bashing walls, breaking them down,
oh
like
yeah,
just real gnarly stuff. And you're like, and for me, like when I rented, like I'm thankful that I own my place, but it's like when I like rented as well, like I always thought to myself, like, who would do that? Like, why would you do that to someone else's property? It's still my home while I'm there. Why would I want to like wreck it? But I guess
It's not yours.
right? But people don't think like that.
Yes,
It's just
right.
interesting, but it's mine to me because I'm living there. But I
it's a
just
whole
never
another
understood
world.
it.
Yeah, it's another world it's another world. I mean these tenants. I've had hundreds of photos where it's I've seen that has been trashed by tenants, and then these tenants they do a bunch of crazy stuff in the property, and
Yeah,
then the owner what the owner does actually after after I would say even a slight even as we call it a slight disruption from the tenants,
Yeah.
the owner would just say, I've had stories even last year for condos in the Fraser Valley area where they took it off the market, they rented to one person, and one not so it's one nasty client and the one nasty tenant is enough to bring the owner back to the sales market again and just sell it at a lower price. One nasty experience.
That's right.
That's
totally.
all it takes. Yeah.
I've seen that as well.
Actually,
Go ahead, Jordan.
like I'm going to jump on that one a little bit. It's like I have a friend of mine who is he's a real estate agent and also does real estate investments as well. That's his jam. That's where he lands and his clients. And he buys properties himself and invests and has renters. And he has said that he will gladly keep a house empty or a property empty until he finds the right client, because he's had tenants that have absolutely like trashed the place. He literally referred them as like the Swedish party animals. You know what I mean? That like, just destroyed the place, and they were like, "What is going on?" And so he's like, "Never again." So he'll like sit and wait and be like, "I will lose $2,000 to $4,000 or $5,000, whatever it is." But then he'll find the right person that'll come in that will take care of things, not make it a pain in the butt. It's worth far more in the long run than in the short term gain of just getting somebody in there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's all risk. That's all risk involved. That's why
Good.
that's why we tell the landlords, right? Yeah.
James, when it comes to the different housing types right now, what do you seeing in terms of buyer demand? Yeah, like for example, I'm seeing 1-bedroom condos are dead. I mean, that is a quiet market right now. It is tough to move those things. Whereas I see on detached market, I've been working with a couple where we're trying to pick up something in that Canby, King Edward, sort of West Mount Pleasant, and it's every single detached house almost is getting multiple offers. Where townhouses are kind of in the middle of that. What are you seeing in terms of maybe the very best deals in the market right now, and then on the other hand, where things are active?
Okay, so yes, so far most of my listing right now are single detached because
Okay.
it's yeah. So I do realize that like for this detached listing is out there, all of them, if not all of them, they got inquiries, they got in some traction. But again, so I would say I would agree that a lot of people, there's a lot of buyers right now, they have they're actually looking for single detached homes. I would note especially those who which are move-in ready versus those are I mean those ones who need like handyman specials or those ones need quite a bit of work after moving. They still got their interest because I also track them on the back end for realtor, the realtor.ca, like for the agent portal. I still
Okay.
track I still track their
And
clicks and favorites.
just to be
And
clear for anybody listening, when you're tracking the agent portal, what you're looking at is the number of online views. Does it get like
yes.
803 or 61 views? Is that what you mean?
Yes, exactly. So
Interesting.
so I do get quite a bit of calls, for detached, and actually a lot of my clients they actually wanted to get their hands on a single detached home or even a duplex where they actually own the land without any, strata fees and monthly strata fees like that
Sure.
such. Yeah. But again, those homes that attracts the most traffic, I would say it would be the homes that are move-in ready, like somehow renovated or well kept according to the age. Like Vancouver special in the 80s. If they did all the necessary like roof updates. They the water tank furnace. If those ones are done, yes, they will track quite a bit of traffic. If they will be busy, you will be seeing busy open houses, versus those properties which are usually come with high strata fees. So stratified properties like concrete townhouses, I would find those are the worst. And also
Yes.
large square feet condos and older condos, no AC, but the fees were high for some reason. And I mean, yeah. So like I would say the strata fees is really it's really being a deal breaker here. I've seen so many properties that nice properties, very like very attractive, moving ready, but again the strata fees is hurting the wallet of the buyers. So therefore, I mean, I could totally get it. The buyers in this price point where they're looking for a family home or a larger upsizing to a family home or something for the family, they will be factoring the numbers they will factoring the monthly payments quite carefully so that they're not overspending. Versus those owners with single detached, probably they would have sold quite some of their investment properties or upsize from
You know
a
what?
townhome already. Yeah,
And
so there'll
I'm
be
finding,
less.
I don't know if you're finding this too, James, but what I'm finding on listings is if it's older, if it's beat up, it needs to be renovated, it's
Yeah,
very difficult to sell.
very
And
difficult.
because
Yeah,
buyers need to have that big chunk of the down payment ready, and
yeah,
then now it just seems like everybody feels like their jobs at risk, the economy is sputtering, so they may have that pile of money for the down payment, but they don't have that second pile of money for the renovation,
exactly,
and
exactly.
it
So
just seems
so
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 expensive
they
to
would
get.
even prefer to pay a little bit more down payment to use the leverage from the bank, getting with the ratios to buy homes that are slightly better, like
Yeah.
100K better, 100K more, but still the home is moving ready versus a home that needs a chunk load of work. So people don't have the time and don't have the luxury for it. So that's why
Totally.
I would say people are less patient and less tolerant towards those kind of homes.
Yeah. Are you in
Yeah.
a situation sometimes where you have to decline the listing? You just say, "Look, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, thanks so much for having me, but your expectations are just are exceeding reality of the facts of the situation. I can't help you." How do you even end? Do you have that situation? How do you even handle it?
More than I could remember.
Or smoke bomb and you just run off.
Smoke bomb like a ninja. Yeah, like I said, I respect all the decision from. I respect the seller's love and the seller's expectations because they were there. They were there the whole time, 10, 15 years, 20 years. But again, like for me, like from a business perspective, I'm doing my best to help them move on. You know, so if the reality is not there and they are not in dire situation to really to make the move, if they're just testing water, they just want to see how it goes, and it's dependent, and if I get a good price then I will move out of here. I would say, yeah, it's so I would just turn down listings and, well, maybe we will reconnect in about 6 months time, or or more. So we'll see what happens. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I think like since we're coming close to the to wrapping this up here, I think let's get out that crystal ball. I hope you have one of those over there. You know,
I'm polishing
and
it.
I'm definitely we're definitely quoting you because you can't go back on it. It's literally in recording. Are we at the bottom of the market? And where will we be in like 12 to 18 months? Like, what do you think?
Well, I would say if we're looking for the like for the tiers in like type of housing like condos, I would say we're not there yet. I mean, I think the market still has some way to still have some space to fall. Mainly is because when we're looking at a lot of developers, they were having their end units or the holdback unit right now. They're just popping them off on the market and then with the larger discounts. So that's going to hurt. That's going to hurt
So
condos who
you're
has completed.
James, what you're saying is the developers still have hundreds, if not thousands, of units unsold, and that
Yes,
because of that, it could still put pressure on prices down.
exactly. And then with this new GI and especially a lot of the buyers are actually looking at condos, so be first time home buyers. And if you're buying from a developer like directly, like they will have the tax benefit if it falls under a certain number. They will have the GST savings, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, they'll have the rebates in GST. They have more property transfer tax savings for versus owning a pre-owned newer condo. So that's where I see. I mean, if people right now, especially for those condos who completed 2-3 years back, they could complete a higher number, and now unless the sellers are willing to take a huge loss, and I do feel that the market still hasn't really reached the bottom of the hill for that market tier. But again, for single detached, I would because I've many developer clients and developer friends who are actually out there. They've all stopped building. So I would say that I would safely say we're now in a, if not the lowest, not the slowest or the lowest tier, but I feel like the detached market will be there to recover in the next 12 to 18 months.
It's interesting where I like when I'm hearing that, and they always say that, like, detached usually goes up first, then it's townhouses, then it's condos, and it sort of just kind of works that way. And from what you're hearing, what you're saying is similar sort of thing, because condos still have a little bit more room to go here. I'm curious.
Competition. It's competition. It's the competition from the developers holdback units, and then also from the competition for the, like, simply we had too many condos being built and completed over the last 2 or 3 years. That's the reality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel so badly for, on my end as the mortgage broker, we get into this sometimes, is that people buy the places with the builder or the developer at, say, let's go with $850,000 for the condo.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden now you've got to get your mortgage all sorted out. And, now we're at the end of the buying period and everything like that. And you're ready, you have to get ready to buy the place and get the mortgage and everything set up. And I feel for clients because now you got to do an appraisal. And as you pointed out, the market has really taken a hit regarding those condos. And now they're worth less than what they're buying it for. And then banks are going, hey, we'll give you less money now for the property, because of course they go by loan to value, not by purchase price.
Exactly.
And then buyers are getting caught in the scenario where they're like, they have to come up with more down payment because they agreed on a certain price. And that's a very sort of challenging conversation sometimes to have with buyers that, were so excited to buy when they did it, and they did it in a time where, of course, the market was bananas a couple of years ago with COVID and everything like that. So they're like, okay, let's not do it. Let's not get into the market like that. We'll take the safe route. And then here we are in a total different change in pace and everything like that,
Guys, this is for both of you, for you, Jordan, James. Like, how do you? I've got a couple of clients in that situation, man, and that is a tough situation. Like,
it really is.
It's brutal.
Yeah.
How do you handle that conversation? Like, what advice do both of you give to your clients who have a condo that's completing in 2 months from now? They paid $1 million for it, and it's worth $800,000 today.
Go ahead, James.
Well, I would. Well, from my end, I would always tell them that, well, you might want to plan ahead, plan earlier to see what are your options are, and if there's to cover for the shortfall. But down the road, I mean, I still believe that Vancouver real estate, given its very unique geographic, shape in this area. I mean, we don't have a lot of land here. We're not looking like GTA area,
Oh
like
yeah.
with an unlimited land. But again, I mean, I still I think it's right now you got to plan ahead and try to figure. Probably talk to family, talk to your mortgage broker, talk to Jordan. You know,
Thanks, James.
like
Love
yeah,
it.
get things figured out. And
We'll have you
and
back on for that.
Yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
and a
It's a
lot of
giant bag
times
of
I
money.
would say yeah, I would say just we will just have to hold on. We need to sometimes take the hit, but again, but I always said if selling it's kind of like the last option in this market. Like as a realtor, it's my profession to wanted to make the deal happen, and but again, a lot of time I advise them. So if you could have the option not to sell and to just hold on to the property by renting, borrowing from family, and just holding on to it, do it.
Of
Yeah,
course.
just do it. Yeah.
What do you do?
Very similar kind of conversation there where, thankfully when people are getting ready for pre-sales, a lot of the time, like they do talk to me and get everything organized to make sure they can get it. They can get in based on the numbers that they were a couple years ago. And I always sort of say to them, hey, look, you don't know where the market's going to change. This is how this works. So make sure that you're good. You put yourself in a good position to weather the storm if there are changes. And so as a result, I'm also very, very, very diligent about reaching out to my clients, my, people that are still buying, people that have already bought, over the course of the life of their mortgage, but even previous to that, and sort of let them know what's going on. So hopefully if, like, let's say they're buying a place within the next 6 months, we've already had 3 or 4 conversations about, hey, you recognize what's happening here. Make sure that you're in a good financial position to make sure if something goes sideways during the appraisal that you're set and ready to go just in case. And I'm a big believer in that. And I'm also a big believer, frankly, between you and me and the lamppost, is I like when clients are more, let's call it fiscally conservative. Like, don't stretch too much unless you really, really have to. And make sure they're comfortable just in case something does happen, and they have that little bit of a fund to make sure that they make it through in this kind of, when things like this happen.
James, anything else in your crystal ball that you foresee coming in the next 12 months that may have a material impact on the real estate market?
Well, because right now, again, I would say with this traction I'm seeing, I even foresee that there's going to be a comeback in the detached market probably in the next 6, if not 6 to 8 months. Given that the amount of traction and with the inventories out there, and what I really see though in a lot of the detached market these days, I summarize many of as dog's breakfast. It is an exaggeration. There's a lot of nice homes out there for sure. But again, I would say that right now, a lot of the sellers, they are less inclined to put a really nice product out there. Even for detached market, if buyers really looking for at a nice detached homes, it's a good time. If you find a home that you really enjoy, you really like, don't wait for the market. Just, if you can get hand on a nice piece of property, do it, because in this kind of market, in a relatively in a slower market, you will not see you won't see a lot of nice product, good quality product out there, because a lot of the time the sellers are not in a hurry. The sellers are not in a rush to put their things on the table unless like put a product out there unless the price is the price is right. So if you can get your hands, and now it's a comfortable time, you can start negotiating. You can, yeah, just cherish the inventory we have. Just take your shot. Yeah.
It's very true. I mean, I think one of the things that I think people need to realize and buyers need to connect with here is that sellers who often, like, especially with detached, bought their places quite a while ago in many
Yeah.
cases. And so they're very comfortable being like, okay, we'll wait this out. They know. And in general, as you pointed out, is the Vancouver market is still resilient. It hasn't really been that devastating in the market all in all. I mean, it's been a big change for most of the time because we're so used to everything going up and up and up. But in general, it hasn't been an absolutely crazy drops and everything like that in the grand scheme of things, if you know what I mean. And I think where buyers need to connect with is that realtors don't need to sell. So if anyone thinks that all of a sudden that we're going to start seeing prices drop another 20 or 30%, what world are we in? Like, I think people need to get a real reality check on that sort of thing.
I'll tell you guys, I think we are bottoming out, because I think we're bottoming out on the detached and on the townhouse market, because even in the last 2.5, 3 weeks, I've made 5 or 6 offers, and all of them went to multiple offers.
Really?
I don't think I had a
Wow.
one in, and this is for, we made 4 or 5 offers for a client looking for a detached, 2 more groups looking at condos. Everything went on multiple offers. So now maybe those are one-offs, but I don't think so. I think you can make the argument now that homes are more affordable now than it was in 2018 or 19, because incomes have gone up 10, 20% from that time, and home prices have returned to those levels of 2017, 18. That's almost a decade ago. So I'm here in agreement with you're agreeing with that, James.
Yeah, that's right. So any home that's going to check the mark of the growing a family, because it came down to earth that probably the investors were gone. But again, for the detached and detached and townhouse market, I mean, there weren't as many investors versus the condo market. So I would say now people just average Joes. They're trying to make a living. They're trying to move up in the growing.
Sure.
In the detached market, right? Yeah, I guess that's what it is. And so that said, thank you, James. And so that said, I think this is a great place to sort of wrap things up and move from there. So thanks, James, very much for being involved here. Really appreciate it. Absolutely fantastic. I love your insights. Super helpful. Christian, what do you think?
Yeah, he was great.
Yeah.
You were great too, Jordan.
Thank you. I'm loving this pat on the back here. Thank you. This is great. So that said, thanks very much for listening here. And of course, if you have any questions about real estate, make sure you reach out to James, myself, or Christian anytime. I'm sure all of us or any of us.
I'm the other guy over here. Yeah.
Right. Would be happy to help. No, Christian, you took the reins here. I really appreciate it. And if anyone needs anything at all, reach out anytime. Thanks so much and have a great one. Bye for now.
Bye.